My dad slammed his fist on the dining table so hard that my coffee spilled. "You selfish little brat," he barked. "It's her wedding, and you're her brother. Grow up and do what's right." All I did was say no. No, I wouldn't be spending another $2,000 on another lavish gift for my sister's 5th wedding. No, I wouldn't pretend this was a fresh new start when we'd all seen this movie before, different guy, same ending. And definitely no, I wasn't going to let guilt and tradition squeeze the last drops of energy and money out of me. But that didn't matter. Not to my dad. Not to my mom. Not even to my sister, who texted me a sad face emoji with a Venmo request right after storming out of the room. Because in their eyes, my job was to support. Endlessly. Without limits. Without questions. I sat there in silence while my father's voice echoed in my ears. I wasn't crying. I wasn't yelling. I was just done. Done being the responsible sibling who bails her out when things fall apart. Done maxing out credit cards so she could play princess for a day. Done being the emotional punching bag for a family that never once asked how I was doing. Or whether I could actually afford to keep playing the role of the good son. I've always been quiet. The one who folds napkins at parties, who stays late to clean up, who drives people home. I thought that made me kind. But apparently, kindness only counts when it's loud, and visible, and convenient for everyone else. So yeah, when I said no this time, the reaction was nuclear. But the truth? I'd been saying yes for too long. Hey, welcome to HD Reddit Stories. I'm glad you're here. I don't know if you've ever been treated like the bad guy for finally putting up a boundary, but if you have, I see you. And I want to tell you what happened when I stopped trying to please everyone in my family and started telling the truth. Have you ever been called ungrateful just because you chose yourself for once? If you've ever been in that situation, or know someone who has, leave a comment. I'd love to hear how it played out for you. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button for more stories just like this, real moments, real family drama, and real lessons you won't forget. Because saying no doesn't make you cruel. Sometimes it's the first step toward peace. They didn't just want my help. They expected my sacrifice. Growing up, my sister Mandy was the sun, and the rest of us simply orbited around her. She was dramatic, beautiful, and a master at getting what she wanted, especially from our parents. I used to think it was just because she was younger, that maybe one day the scales would balance out. They never did. I was the kid who got straight A's and didn't make noise about it. She was the one who failed algebra twice but still got a car at 16 because she needed motivation. When I asked for help with my college tuition, Dad told me to take out loans and learn some independence. Mandy? She got a trip to Europe after dropping out of community college. That was when I stopped asking for things altogether. Her first wedding was when she was 21. A guy she met at a music festival, tattoos, a guitar, and not much else. I was 23 and working my second job to pay rent. She wanted a new couch for her and her husband's apartment, something minimalist but luxury, whatever that meant. My parents didn't bat an eye when she said I'd buy it. They just looked at me like, you will, right? I did. $1,500. Took me 5 months to pay off. She left him after 7 months. The second wedding was 2 years later. I remember because I had just moved into a new place and didn't even have a proper bed frame yet. She was marrying her yoga instructor. Soulmates, she said. Dad gave a speech about second chances, about hope. Mandy requested a honeymoon fund from the family. I gave $500. Not because I had it, but because I thought maybe this one would stick. It didn't. The third wedding happened after an 8-month relationship with a guy she met online. I didn't even know his last name. This time, she wanted a Dyson vacuum from me, because, quote, "You're the only one who can afford the good stuff." I was still paying off my student loans and juggling a car payment. I bought it anyway. He cheated on her. She moved back home. Wedding number 4 felt like a joke. I wasn't even surprised anymore. She was in love with a divorced dad of 3. My parents threw her an engagement party in our backyard and asked me to bring a new sound system, something classy. I said no. That was the first time. Dad didn't yell that time. He just said he was disappointed. And Mandy? She cried. Big, theatrical sobs. You don't support me, she said. You've never supported me. That hit hard. I had proof on my credit card that said otherwise. Still, somehow I gave in. I didn't buy the sound system, but I offered to pay for half the catering. It was enough to get her talking to me again. She married the guy. They separated 8 months later. And now, wedding number 5. When she called to tell me about it, her voice was sugar-sweet. She said things like, "It just feels right this time." And, "He really understands me." I stared at the wall while she talked, my mind already racing with what I'd be expected to do. I knew the script by heart, the gift, the praise, the performance of sibling support. Except this time. I was tired. Bone-deep tired. So when she sent me a link to a $2,000 espresso machine and wrote, "You said you'd get me something special, right?" I didn't even respond. I just stared at the message and closed the app. I waited 3 days before calling her. I kept the conversation short. I told her I was happy for her, that I hoped this one lasted, but I wouldn't be able to contribute anything this time. My savings were tied up. I was focusing on my own goals. I wished her well. Silence. Then came the barrage, texts from her, then from Mom. Then Dad. The guilt train was in full motion. "It's just one gift, you're her only sibling, family sticks together." I didn't respond right away. When I finally did, it was with one sentence. "I've done enough." That set everything off. Mandy called me a narcissist. Dad called me ungrateful. Mom tried to mediate, but even she slipped in a few jabs about how I've changed. Maybe I have. Maybe I finally saw the pattern. I was never the golden child. I was the reliable one. The one they leaned on when things crumbled. The one who made quiet sacrifices, invisible ones. No one celebrated them. No one noticed them. But I kept making them, like a fool hoping for recognition that would never come. The worst part? I didn't mind being the support system. Not really. What broke me was realizing they'd never return the favor. That in their eyes I was only good so long as I stayed in my lane and kept giving. I missed a lot of things for Mandy's weddings. I skipped friends' trips to afford gifts. I passed on promotions because I used my PTO for her events. I swallowed my frustration when she trashed her relationships and landed back at our parents' house every single time. And I told myself, she's family. That's what you do. But something inside me snapped this time. Maybe it was the way she said, "You said you'd get me something special." Like I had made a legally binding promise. Maybe it was the way my parents jumped to her defense without asking me why I said no. Maybe it was the realization that for all the times I'd shown up, they only ever remembered the one time I didn't. I wasn't even invited to the bridal shower. Mandy said she didn't want negativity. I saw pictures of it online, my cousins, her friends, my parents smiling like everything was perfect. I was erased. Dad stopped talking to me for weeks. When I tried to call him on his birthday, he let it go to voicemail. And when I finally saw him at a family dinner, he didn't look at me. Didn't say my name. Just passed the bread like I was a stranger. I sat there, surrounded by people who once called me the dependable one, and I felt invisible. And the worst part? No one noticed. Not even Mandy. That night I left dinner early. No drama, no announcement. I just walked out. And no one followed. That's when I knew I wasn't family. I was furniture. Useful. Convenient. Easy to ignore. And yet, part of me still ached for them. For the childhood version of us that believed love was something steady. For the memories of birthdays and backyard barbecues, when Mandy and I played tag and Dad grilled burgers like he was a chef on TV. Before weddings and debt and drama turned us into roles we didn't ask for. I grieved those memories for days after. Quietly. Alone. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just sad. Sad that being the responsible one meant being the disposable one. Sad that love had conditions. Sad that it took 5 weddings and 1,000 disappointments for me to finally say, enough. But I wasn't going to change my mind. This time, I wouldn't be the safety net. Because it never ended with the gift. It always ended with me cleaning up the mess. And no one ever thanked the cleaner. A week after that dinner, the one where I walked out and no one followed, I got an email from Mandy's fiancé. Just the subject line. Wedding registry, final version. With a cheerful little emoji. I don't know what compelled me to open it. Morbid curiosity, maybe. It was a spreadsheet. Yes, a full-on, color-coded spreadsheet. Rows of gifts with price tags next to them, and a column that listed who was responsible for what. Next to my name? A $2,399 Breville espresso machine, with the word confirmed, in green beside it. I sat there staring at it, wondering if I'd somehow blacked out and agreed to it in my sleep. I hadn't. I'd said no. I had made myself clear. But there it was, in writing, bold and presumptuous, like my silence had been mistaken for submission. And maybe that was my fault. I'd spent a lifetime saying yes. Maybe they didn't know what no really looked like from me. Well, they were about to find out. I hit reply. Hi, Brian. I'm afraid there's been a mistake. I won't be purchasing anything from this registry. I've already made that clear to Mandy and my parents. Please remove my name. Thanks. Simple. Polite. Firm. I sent it and went to bed feeling good. Clean. Like I'd finally exhaled after holding my breath for years. The next morning, the storm began. First came Mandy's text. What is wrong with you? Why would you embarrass me like that? Then Mom called. I let it ring out. She followed up with a voicemail, her voice shaking. Your sister's wedding is not about your ego. You're making everything harder than it has to be. Why can't you just do this one thing? That one thing had turned into 5 weddings, tens of thousands of dollars, and a lifetime of being taken for granted. I didn't respond. 2 days later, I was officially uninvited. No explanation, just a family-wide group text about a smaller, more intimate celebration. I laughed out loud reading it. Intimate meaning only those who comply. Fine. But I wasn't done. Because if they were going to erase me, I was going to leave my receipts on the table. I didn't go nuclear right away. I spent the next few nights combing through my old emails, messages, and bank statements. It was all there, the Venmo transfers labeled. Mandy's wedding flowers, the PayPal payments for her, urgent, dress fittings, even the time I covered a bounced check from her second divorce attorney. There was a pattern, and I had the paper trail to prove it. I created a simple document. 4 pages. Just facts. No opinions, no emotion. A timeline of everything I'd done financially for Mandy's weddings, every dollar, every favor, every time I stepped in because someone else dropped the ball. I added screenshots, receipts, and even a copy of the email where I politely declined to contribute to wedding number 5. Then I sent it. Not to just Mandy, but to my parents, my aunts, my uncles, and a few close family friends who had started calling me cold and selfish behind my back. I didn't say anything snarky in the email. Just, since some narratives have started circulating about my lack of support, I thought it would be fair to clarify what I have and haven't done. I'm not asking for praise or pity, just context. Wishing Mandy all the best. That was it. Hit send. The silence afterward was deafening. I didn't hear anything for a full 24 hours. Then, one by one, the responses started trickling in. My Aunt Carla wrote back first. I had no idea you did all that. I'm sorry, sweetie. Truly. Then Uncle Pete. This is eye-opening. Proud of you for standing up for yourself. Even one of Mandy's bridesmaids messaged me privately. Honestly, I've always admired how much you did for your family. This is messed up. Hope you're okay. But the real shock came from my mom. She showed up at my apartment 2 days later, unannounced. I almost didn't open the door, but something told me I needed to see her face. She stood there, clutching her purse like a lifeline, her eyes rimmed with guilt. I didn't know it was that much, she said. You never said anything. I shrugged. You never asked? She stepped inside, sat on the edge of my couch like she was afraid of sinking into it. I think we just got used to you being capable, she said. You never made it about you. Because it was never allowed to be, I said, quieter than I expected. I was only loved when I was useful. She didn't deny it. She didn't excuse it. For the first time in years, she just sat with the truth. I'm sorry, she whispered. It didn't fix everything. But it cracked something open. Later that week, Mandy called me. Not to apologize, but to demand why I'd humiliated her. You made me look like a gold digger, she spat. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, Mandy, if the facts humiliate you, maybe the problem isn't the facts. Click. That was the last time we spoke before the wedding. I didn't go, of course. I spent the day hiking alone, no phone, no noise. Just me and the silence I'd earned. And for once, it felt peaceful, not lonely. But here's where the twist comes in. 2 weeks after the wedding, I got a call from Mandy's new husband, Brian. He sounded nervous. Hey. I just wanted to clear the air, he said. I had no idea about the registry thing. Mandy said you'd already agreed, but after seeing that document you sent out, I get it now. I stayed silent. He continued, Look, I know I'm new to all this, but I don't think she's being fair to you. And honestly, I think she's got some stuff to work through. It was surreal. For the first time ever, someone on Mandy's side saw what I saw. And said it out loud. A month later, I found out from Aunt Carla that Brian had moved out. Trial separation, they called it. Mandy didn't post anything on Instagram for weeks. Then one day, her feed lit up with a selfie and a quote. Strong women walk away from toxicity. I almost laughed. I didn't engage. I didn't comment. I just turned off notifications. Because here's the thing about standing up for yourself, it doesn't just shift your relationships, it reveals them. I learned that people who love you conditionally will always treat your boundaries like betrayal. And those who truly see you will respect the line you draw, even if it makes them uncomfortable. I don't regret a single thing I did. Not the document. Not the silence. Not the no. It wasn't revenge. It was liberation. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real gift I gave myself. The day of Mandy's wedding came and went, and I didn't hear a single word from anyone in the family. No messages, no guilt trips, no photos sent out of obligation. Just silence. I thought I'd feel sad. Or maybe a little left out. But when I woke up that morning, sunlight spilling through my windows, and realized I could do whatever I wanted with my day, I felt calm. I made my own coffee. Black. Cheap beans, but the bitterness was oddly comforting. I took my time. Ate breakfast on the balcony. Then I packed a backpack, got in the car, and drove 2 hours into the mountains. There was no reception out there. Just trees, wind, and a long trail with no one else around. For once, I wasn't anyone's plus one. I wasn't a groomsman, or the guy in the corner folding napkins, or the brother footing the bill for something ridiculous. I was just me. And I liked that person. I stayed out until the sun dipped behind the hills and the sky turned lavender and gold. On the drive home, I played an old playlist I'd made in college. Songs I hadn't listened to in years. I smiled, realizing how far I'd come from the version of me who thought love was earned through quiet sacrifice. When I got back, there were 3 missed calls from my mom. And 1 voicemail. I played it. Hey honey, I know you're not picking up, and that's okay. I just wanted to say that the wedding was beautiful. But it felt like something, or someone, was missing. Mandy noticed too. She tried not to, But I saw it in her eyes. We all did. I hope, when you're ready, you'll come back. We miss you. It didn't sound like manipulation. Not this time. It just sounded human. I sat with that message for a while. Then I deleted it. Because I knew what would happen if I replied too soon. The door would swing open again, and I'd be expected to step right back into the same role I had just fought my way out of. Not because they changed, but because I did. And that change needed time to root itself. Over the next few months, I got texts from relatives. Tentative ones. Hope you're doing well. Thinking of you. No one asked for money. No one brought up the wedding. It was like everyone collectively realized I wasn't going to be the emotional and financial sponge anymore, and oddly, they respected that. Even Mandy. She never apologized. But one day, out of the blue, she sent a photo of us as kids, covered in cake at her 3rd birthday party, and wrote, "We were cute once, huh?" I didn't reply. But I didn't block her either. That was our language, cautious, half-steps. And for now, that was enough. 6 months later, I met someone. Her name's Danielle. First date was coffee, second was a bookstore, and by the third, we were already talking about family. Not the dreamy kind, but the real kind. The kind that comes with scars and silence, and still finds a way to hold on. I told her everything. About Mandy. About the weddings. About how I learned boundaries the hard way. She didn't flinch. She said, "It's not selfish to protect yourself. It's smart." I think that was the moment I realized I wasn't just healing, I was building something better. My parents eventually came around, too. Slowly. It started with a dinner. Mom invited me without any pretense. No agenda. Just a meal. I showed up cautious. And to my surprise, they didn't bring up the past. They didn't scold me. Dad just asked if I wanted to watch the game after. I said yes. We didn't talk about the spreadsheet. Or the wedding. Or Mandy's espresso machine. But he did say one thing before I left that night. "You did a hard thing," he said. "I wouldn't have had the guts to do it when I was your age." That was the closest I'd ever gotten to an apology from him. And weirdly, it was enough. I don't need my family to be perfect anymore. I don't need them to understand every choice I made. I just need them to see me. Not the role. Not the function. Me. And maybe they're starting to. The last I heard, Mandy's marriage was on pause. No big public posts this time. No registries. Just a quiet phase of reflection. I hope she figures herself out. Truly. Because beneath the drama and entitlement, there's a version of her that just wanted to be loved loudly, even if it meant taking more than she gave. I get that. I've wanted that too. But I've learned that real love, healthy love, doesn't cost $1,000. It costs honesty. Boundaries. And sometimes, the courage to walk away. I didn't go to Mandy's 5th wedding. And for the first time, she had to face a life event without me cleaning up the fallout. And maybe, that's what helped both of us grow up. For most of my life, I believed that being a good person meant always saying yes. Yes to favors, yes to forgiveness, yes to staying quiet when things hurt. I thought if I kept showing up, kept sacrificing, kept being dependable, eventually, someone would say thank you. Eventually, I would be seen, valued, loved for who I was, not just for what I gave. But the truth is, when you make yourself endlessly available, people forget you have limits. And when you finally draw the line, they don't see it as self-respect, they see it as betrayal. That's one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn. Family can be beautiful. It can be comforting, grounding, a place to return to when everything else feels uncertain. But family can also be the first place where we're taught to ignore our own needs. Where love is offered with invisible strings. Where being the strong one means being taken for granted until you break. And when you do break, they'll call you distant, cold, ungrateful. But here's what I've come to understand: love without boundaries isn't love. It's codependence. Saying no doesn't mean you love your family less. It means you've started to love yourself enough to stop bleeding for people who never noticed the wound. It means you're done playing the part they wrote for you in a story that never cared if you were okay. When I finally stopped paying for my sister's weddings, it wasn't about the money. It was about reclaiming the parts of myself I had slowly traded away in the name of being a good son. My time. My peace. My sense of fairness. I realized I had spent years accepting crumbs of appreciation, while setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. And no one ever asked me if I was cold. We're taught that family deserves our unconditional loyalty. That blood is thicker than water. But that saying is often used to silence people, to shame them into submission, to keep them trapped in cycles of guilt and obligation. Real family, the kind that sees you, hears you, respects you, doesn't punish you for growing. It celebrates you for it. The day I said no was the day I started healing. Not because everything got better overnight. It didn't. There were tears. Fights. Silence. People walked away. But for the first time, I wasn't bending just to keep the peace. I was standing for myself. And in that stillness, I discovered peace I'd never known before. If you're someone who's always the giver, always the fixer, always the one everyone calls when something goes wrong, I want you to know this: you are allowed to want things too. You are allowed to have needs, to set boundaries, to choose rest, to walk away. You don't owe anyone your constant sacrifice just to be worthy of love. You were worthy before you gave anything. You are still worthy when you say no. And yes, it might cost you relationships. People who only valued your silence will resent your voice. But the ones who truly care will adapt. Or they'll leave, and make space for something better to grow. Since stepping back, I've learned how to protect my energy. I've built friendships based on mutual respect, not convenience. I've found love that doesn't demand I earn it. And I've started to trust my own instincts again, the ones I buried under guilt for so long. I no longer measure my worth by how much I can endure. I measure it by how much I protect my peace. And if I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing. Not the drama. Not the pushback. Not the grief. Because through it all, I learned one simple truth. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and for others, is to say, enough. So if you've been through something like this, if you've ever been the responsible one, who broke under the weight of everyone else's expectations, if you've said no and were met with silence instead of understanding, you are not alone. And you are not wrong. Your story deserves to be told. Your peace deserves to be protected. Your life deserves to belong to you. Treasure the people you love, absolutely. But treasure yourself while you still can.